Hey guys, welcome to another CodeSwag tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a camera application using Ionic and Capacitor. Please make sure that you hit the red subscribe button and click the bell icon so that you can get notifications of future tutorials. Please make sure that you visit codeswag.co.uk/shop where you can get yourself some awesome tech and merchandise, especially for developers. And buying from our store enables us to create more tutorials. Let's cue the music. Okay, so we're gonna start off in the command line and we want to create a new Ionic project. And you just want to make sure that you have the up-to-date version of Ionic. So to do that, we type in npm install -g at Ionic CLI. Right, and pressing enter on that will make sure that you have the most up-to-date version of Ionic. I already have an up-to-date version of Ionic, so I'm gonna start by creating our project. So we do that with Ionic start, CodeSwag camera, blank capacitor. Okay, so this just means that we're gonna create a project called CodeSwag Camera. So that's the name of our application. We're gonna use the blank template, and we want to make sure that capacitor is the default native bridge that is gonna be used. So we'll press enter to that, and that will begin creating our project. Okay, so we wanna make sure we choose Angular for the framework. And that's gonna start downloading the blank starter template and get everything started. We want to integrate capacitor, yes. Okay, so we don't want to create an Ionic account. And let's clear our screen. Our project has been created successfully. Okay, in the event that you have an existing Ionic project and you want to add capacitor to that project, you simply type in the following commands: Ionic integrations enable capacitor. And pressing enter to this in an existing Ionic project will install capacitor for that project. So we've created a new project here, so that's not necessary. So let's head into our project folder, CodeSwag camera, we'll cd into that, and let's clear the screen. Okay, so both in the instances where we've created our project from scratch, or after having run Ionic integrations enable capacitor in an existing project, the commands that you run from here on out are the same. So first we initialize capacitor, and we do that with the command npx cap init. And when we do that, we are asked to give an application name, so we'll call that CodeSwag camera. Okay, and we are asked for a package ID in Java format. So we're just gonna call that uk.co.codeswag.camera. Okay, so that means our capacitor project is ready to go. Next, we add the necessary platforms. In this video, we're going to be working with the Android platform, so we will install the Android platform by running npx cap add Android. and that's going to go ahead and download and install. Oops, I made an error. I said npx zap add Android. That's supposed to be cap. So let's fix that. Okay. Okay, so it gives us an error. It says Capacitor could not find the web assets directory. That's because I neglected to first run the command Ionic build. So let me clear the screen. Okay, so first, before adding any platforms, you're supposed to run Ionic build. That's going to create the web assets directory that is then used by Capacitor. Okay, there we go. Let's clear the screen. Okay, now we can then run npx cap add Android. Okay, so the Android platform has been added to our Capacitor project. Let's clear our screen, and the next thing that we want to do is to open our project in our code editor so that we can begin implementing the code for the camera functionality. If you have Visual Studio Code, you simply type in code followed by a period, and that's going to open the application in Visual Studio Code. So we want to go to source and app, and we want to go to home and open home.page.html, the template file, and home.page.ts, the TypeScript file. And we're going to close that and cancel that notification. Okay, so the first thing here is we want to get rid of all of this existing content, and I'll just save that for now. Okay, so first we want to add the markup for the camera functionality. So we want to have an area where our image is going to show up, and we also want to have a floating action button that we can click on in order to initiate the process of taking a photo or choosing a photo from the photo gallery. So I'm going to type in that code. Okay, so here we have our markup. First we have this image tag. So this is going to contain our photograph. And then next we have this ion fab, and the ion fab, the floating action button, is going to be containing our floating action button. Okay, so vertically it's going to be at the bottom, so it means it's going to appear somewhere around here, and horizontally it's going to be centered, so it's going to be at the bottom, at the center. And fixed in terms of like whether you scroll up and down or side to side, the floating action button will remain fixed in that bottom center position. And then we have the actual fab button, and when it is clicked, it's going to activate a method called take picture, which we're going to implement in a second. And of course the floating action button will have a little icon of a camera. So we're going to press Ctrl S to save the template file, and next we want to head over to the TypeScript file. Okay, so within the TypeScript file is where we're going to then implement the actual logic of our camera functionality. So let me go ahead and type out the code, and I'll explain it, and we can then test it out. Okay, so there we have all of our code. So the first thing is we are importing these classes from Capacitor Core, basically the Capacitor plugins, the camera result type, and the camera source that's going to allow us to connect to the camera. And from the Angular platform browser, we are importing the safe resource URL as well as the DOM sanitizer. And here we have our photo, and we give it a type of safe resource URL because it's going to be a URL that's going to be pointing to a storage location on our device. So if we go back here, this photo right here where the image is going to be, this is this photo right here. We are of course in our constructor using a private instance of the DOM sanitizer class, and then here we implement the take picture method. So this is the method that's going to be run when the user clicks on our floating action button. Okay, so when that method is activated, we are creating a constant called image, and using the image we're going to be activating the camera plugin and calling this method called getPhoto. And what's particularly of note here, what makes this code very special, is that we are using this one getPhoto method to be able to take our picture, and this method is cross-platform. It completely encapsulates the different details of how you're going to take the photo on the not only on the web but also on the mobile platforms Android and iOS. So within the getPhoto method, we pass in this object that sets the particular options. So we want 100% quality. We are not going to be having the user edit the picture. We just want to take the picture in its raw form. And then we have the result type that's telling us this is going to be a camera result type, and this is going to be a URL to a piece of data. And then the source, this field is telling us that we're going to be taking the image directly from the camera. We could be taking it from the galleries, the photos that are already in our gallery. And then finally, we set the value of the photo variable to be the image that is returned from this call and the image data URL. And this is passed through the sanitizer, and it's going to bypass the security trust resource URL. So this is just a security mechanism to make sure that we are accessing the data from the camera and the data URL in a secure fashion. So we're gonna be saving this. So I'm gonna press Control and S, and next we want to run this application in our browser so that we can test. Okay, so in order to run our application for testing in the browser, we need to go back to the command line and type in Ionic serve. Okay, so our application has loaded. Let's press Control Shift and I, and this is going to open the Chrome developer tools. And I just want to toggle the device view. So we have our device view, and what I want to do next is to head over to the console tab. Let me clear that. And then we want to click on the camera fab button, this one down here that we set up. So when we do that, we get this error in our console that says error uncaught in promise, type error, camera module.component on ready is not a function. So some capacitor plugins, including the camera, provide the web-based functionality and user interface via the Ionic PWA elements library. It's a separate dependency, so we have to install it using the terminal. So we want to go back to the command line, and within the command line we want to hold Control and press C, and then Y and enter, and that's going to cancel the test server that was running. Let me clear the screen. Okay, so what we need to do in order to resolve that error is to run the command npm install at Ionic pwa elements. That's going to install those missing dependencies. Okay, so the dependencies have been installed successfully. Next, we need to go back to our code editor so that we make sure that our dependencies are being imported correctly. Okay, and in the code editor, we need to open the side panel, and we want to scroll down until we get to main.ts. So within main.ts, we need a new import. Okay, so with that appropriately configured, we now want to rerun Ionic Serve and test the camera functionality once again. So in order for this to work in our browser, we need to have a webcam on our computer. So if you have any webcam of any sort, we expect to be able to take a photo with that webcam. I do indeed have one, so I will press Control and S to save and head back to the command line. In the command line, I will run Ionic Serve, and that should bring up another test window. Okay, here's our app. Let's press Control Shift I, and Control Shift I is gonna open up the test. It's gonna open up this like mobile view, and my console has been cleared. Let's try to press to and then you see Chrome here is asking for permission to use my camera, so I'm going to allow it. And unfortunately it says could not start a video source. Let me debug that. Okay, so I've discovered that the source of the error was that I was recording the screen. So if I stopped my screen recorder and I pressed on the camera button, as you can see, we are able to access the camera on the application, and you can even see here it has the name of my web camera in the console. Okay, so let's take a photo, and we're gonna accept that, and as you can see, the photo is then placed inside our image tag. So that's it. The camera is working great in the browser. So if our application, if we published it as a PWA, it would be working great. So let's try this out on the Android native platform. So to do that, we want to head to the command line. Okay, so after successfully testing in the browser, now we want to test in the emulator. So we need to stop the test server from running in the browser. We press Control and C to cancel that, and then Y to confirm. Okay, so I'm going to clear the screen. Right, so the next thing that we want to do, so since we've made some changes to our Ionic code where we implemented the camera functionality, those changes were implemented since we initially added the platform. So we need to redo some of those steps. So the first thing we'll do is we need to run Ionic build. So Ionic build will take our Ionic code and will transpile it into the code that actually runs in the web view, and it will place that code in the www folder. This is the folder that is then used by Capacitor to create our native project. Okay, so that is done. I'm going to clear the screen, and next I want to run npx cap sync. So that will synchronize the web assets in the www folder, and it's going to add them to the Android project to basically update the native project. So this synchronizes the Ionic application and the native application as well. So now we can run npx cap open Android to open our project using Android Studio. And there we have Android Studio opening up, and it's gonna do its initial build steps and everything. Okay, so next we want to go to app manifests and android manifest.xml, and we want to make sure that we have these lines over here, line 49 and line 50. Basically these lines make sure that our application declares that it requires the permission to read from and to write to the external storage, and we need that for our camera and our photos, as it says there. Okay, so it looks like everything is in order. Next, let's start up our application in the Android emulator. We can click the run app, the little green play button up here, or we could also come up here to the menu and click on run application. So if you want to make sure that your setup is integrated, where you have Ionic and Android Studio connected like this, I have a video where I go through that entire setup process. Okay, so there we have our application, and if we click on the camera button, it's going to ask for permission. Do you want to allow the application called Swag Camera to take pictures and record video? We're going to allow it, and as soon as we do, we are taken to the camera and can take photos. Now, because this is on the emulator, of course there is no actual camera, so we get this like moving graphic. But if you run this application on your native app, you should be able to take a photograph. And as you can see here, we take a photograph, the emulated photograph, and as you can see, our application is working great. If you like this channel and our content, please head over to our online store, codeswag.co.uk/shop, which has a shop especially for developers, where we sell cool tech like this 2TB NVMe M2 SSD from Samsung, which is blazing fast. It has read and write speeds of up to 3500 megabits per second, and all kinds of other awesome tech. So please head over to the store and support this channel. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial. Please make sure that you like this video, leave a comment if you need help with anything, or if you want a request for if there's a topic that you want covered in a future video. Also, make sure that you click the red subscribe button and you hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of future tutorials. I think in a future tutorial, I'm gonna be showing you how to then take this image and to save it on your device or to upload it onto an external API. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please support this channel by sharing the video, and also you can head over to codeswag.co.uk/shop, where you can buy awesome tech for yourself and your friends, and also all the proceeds from that help to make more tutorial videos. Thank you very much and have a nice day.